Is the 16-month-long violence in Manipur just an ethnic strife, or is there something more to it? This is certainly the big question now, as the latest escalation of violence in Manipur has clearly become a national security issue. The use of sophisticated drones to target civilians with payloads of rocket-propelled grenades and the use of long-range improvised missile systems has surprised most people, because such weaponry have not been largely used before anywhere in the northeastern conflict theatre. There is no doubt anymore that Manipur has become a highly militarized zone with a free flow of weapons. The proximity of the place to strife-torn Myanmar raises questions whether external elements are trying to take advantage of the Kuki-Meitei ethnic war. It is surprising that the security forces are talking about putting in place anti-drone systems only now. Of course, anti-drone equipments have already been operationalized in the last few days. One would also like to know why 60,000 central forces who are supposed to be on the ground in Manipur have not succeeded in quelling the violence. Is there an ambiguity over Article 355 that is supposed to be in force in Manipur? Law and order is a state subject, but does the state government have full authority with Article 355 supposed to be in place? To discuss these and more, I have an esteemed panel with me tonight. Joining me from Guwahati is Lieutenant General retired R.P. Kalita, former General Officer Commanding in Chief of the Army's Eastern Command. In Imphal, I have Lieutenant General retired Himalaya Konsam Singh. And joining me from New Delhi is Mr. Thankholal Haokip, who teaches at the Jawaharlal Nehru University. Gentlemen, welcome to Northeast tonight. Let me begin by asking you, General R.P. Kalita, is it now a national security issue, Manipur? A lot of people were saying that it's an ethnic conflict, but we feel that it is no longer a local problem. It's no longer a state problem, but it has transformed into a national security issue. Do you agree with this assessment?
You see, what started, let me give you a little bit of background. What started on 3rd of May as an ethnic conflict between Meiteis and Kukis have been continuing for last 16 months now, with cycles of violence with period of peace interspersed in between. And there has been unfortunate loss of lives. So many people have been injured. There are about 60,000 internally displaced people who are taking shelter in camps, and there is anger and frustration among the population. It is not limited to only Meiteis and Kukis. It is visible amongst all the people who are living within Manipur as well as outside. But right from beginning, I feel that adequate interest has been shown by the central government. We saw Home Minister, Honorable Home Minister himself camping there for 3 days towards the end of June. And in any case, any sort of clash or instability in any of the state is not limited to the problem of the state itself. It's a national problem, and particularly in border states like Manipur, wherein we have instability in Myanmar, which borders Manipur, and which has an impact on the situation in Manipur as well. So it's a national problem, and that is why we see adequate forces which were moved into Manipur to quell the disturbances. But there are certain other factors which has been contributing to these cycles of violence repeating after some point of time. Unless these problems are resolved, I don't see this solution coming in a very, very near future. Some of the factors which I would like to highlight, particularly I would like to highlight 3 factors. One is the continued mistrust among the two communities, that is between the Kukis and the Meiteis, and the polarization, the complete polarization based on the ethnicity. That's the basic fault line which we need to address. And next point is the easy availability of weapons and warlike stores, whether from the weapons that can come in from the porous Indo-Myanmar border, or availability of weapons that were looted from various police stations in the initial phase of the conflict. So, the easy availability of weapons and other warlike stores is another issue which need to be addressed. Until the time they are available, they will continue to have these cycles of violence. And the third important point is the misinformation or the disinformation campaign, which has been launched by social media manipulation, as also circulation of certain fake medias at times by all stakeholders, I would say. So, this has been adding fuel to the fire,
Right.
and has been contributing towards the violence coming back in Manipur once again.
Right.
And the recent escalation, of course, with use of drone, like you have said, are a cause of concern, definitely.
Right. General Kalita, I'll come back to you. Let me bring in General Himalaya Singh, a very illustrious army officer joining me tonight from Imphal. Welcome, General Himalaya Singh. Same question, I'd like to get a perspective from you. Our main concern is the violence that is going on in the state. Our channel, we have been very careful in covering this story. As General Kalita said, a lot of misinformation going on. Sometimes it also becomes a challenge for us to filter the right information, and that has been a challenge for us in the last 16 months. Having said that, General Himalaya Singh, do you think this has become a national security issue because Manipur is a sensitive border state, and Manipur shares a 398-kilometer long border with Myanmar, and the situation in Myanmar is also extremely volatile. There are a lot of militias right across the border in Myanmar with all kinds of weapons. How do you assess the situation?
Wasbir, thank you very much for having me on this show. At the outset, I express my deep anguish for the loss of all lives in Manipur. I wish that the people of Manipur come to enjoy the peaceful atmosphere which was there prior to 3rd of May.
Increase the volume.
Your question has been largely answered by General Kalita, and I endorse his views. What I would like to add, since you have asked me the same or similar question, what I would like to add is that any inimical country or forces of India will definitely try to exploit any kind of a divide within our country, particularly in the Northeast India. And we have plenty of inimical countries around. Secondly, the situation in Myanmar not only is likely to have contributed to a certain extent to the turmoil here in Manipur, but the fact is that a large number of insurgent groups from the Northeast, more so from Manipur, have been operating in that area for quite some time now, and they have been, in fact, closely associated with one or the other forces fighting in Myanmar. So, therefore, there is a huge element of, national security concern.
Yes.
Huge element. Any inimical forces of India will try and exploit that huge gap in our security environment here. So therefore, I tend to believe that there is certainly a national security concern here, and I wish that authorities attend to it or address it to actually arrest any kind of a situation getting worse.
Right.
It is very extremely important.
Right.
And as General Kalita has said, that it started maybe some kind of ethnic issue, but then it has gone past that stage now.
Right. These are your initial remarks. I'll come back to you, General. Let me bring in Professor Thankolal Haokip, from the Jawaharlal Nehru University, joining me from New Delhi tonight. Professor Thankolal Haokip, you see, as General Himalaya Singh has made a very important point. He said, whenever there is disturbances within our country, forces which are inimical to us always will try to take advantage or try to fish in troubled waters. Now, therefore, do you think that it has become all the more important for the community leaders, whether it is the Meitei community leaders or whether it is the Kuki community leaders, to think beyond the immediate violence between the differences of opinion, between the sharp differences of opinion between the two communities, and think on a broader national interest? Because I can say that there are a lot of nationalist people on both sides.
Wasbir, I would like to start this comment by referring back to another problem a decade ago. For instance, 10 years back, there was a problem between the two communities in More. And at that time, the civil society organizations of the Meiteis and Kukis from Imphal rushed to More and doused off the tension. But the problem with the current situation right now is that the civil society organizations are no longer working, especially in Imphal Valley. The radical groups have taken, a place of all those civil society organizations, and whatever they dictate, the terms that has been followed in the whole of this area. So this is the problem. Or civil society organizations are open to any kind of discussion, but with 15 months of this violence, there is a kind of the mind is filled with a charged situation that people do not want to talk to any political executive, that's whether it's the chief minister or any cabinet rank in Manipur. Their demand is that only the home minister or the prime minister can resolve this crisis. And as time passes, even the politicians and the civil society organizations also make the stance harder that now we are not going to go to Delhi. You come to Chiruzanpur, you come to Kampopi and talk with us. So this is the kind of how people are reacting to the situation as time passes by. And I would like to react to Mr. Kalita regarding the drones, the rockets, so-called. Let me tell you clearly that the weaponization of drones happened way back in December 2023.
Right.
And even these rockets were first used in this Lemkhong area, few days back.
Right.
Before the Moyang and other, attacks took place. So in this context, rather than only blaming one community, if you go back or if you follow the history carefully, all these weaponizations took place long back, and this has to be rightly pointed out. Otherwise, you only blame on one community. That's very much apparent in the first. In the last week.
Professor Haokip, I'll come back to you. You have made some very important points. Let me once again go to General Kalita. General Kalita, what Professor Haokip has said that, during earlier clashes between communities, we saw the civil society going and, using their influence and resolving the problem. But now the civil society is itself divided on community lines. Now, if it is a national security issue, now we have not seen any serious steps by anybody, whether it is the central government, the state government, to bring the two sides to the negotiating table. Well, there may be administrative measures, like we know that 60,000 central forces are stationed in Manipur now. 60,000 forces have not been able to contain the situation for whatever reasons. Do you think this is a military solution? Do you not think that serious efforts are needed to bring the two sides to the negotiating table at a neutral location?
You see, Wasbir, a military solution is only to control the level of violence and bring it down to a particular situation so that political solution, long-term political solution can be found. That's the primary duty of the military. It's to control the level of violence. However, of course, because of the presence of Assam Rifle and the armed forces in Manipur, and had been engaging with all the three communities, Meiteis, Kukis as well as Nagas, since independence. So they have certain leverages, and which was being used in the initial stage of the conflict when I was in office. So we used to have a lot of engagements with both the communities, and I am also aware that there has been a lot of efforts by not only the central government but also by the state government. In fact, the Honorable Chief Minister had also made certain statements that he had been trying to engage with the Kuki communities, including the elected representatives of from the Kuki communities. So there had been, sort of back channel efforts, I would say, to engage with both the communities. But so far, I am not aware of any such face-to-face meetings. So unless, like I had mentioned in my opening remarks, that the mistrust is so complete and the polarization is so complete, unless both the community leaders take a step back, reassess the situation, and then come back face to face on a face to face discussion, this problem will continue like this, because that mistrust has to be broken. And for that to happen, the community leaders have to take initiative, the elders have to take the initiative and guide the more radical elements within the both communities, so they see the logic behind the engagement.
Right.
Because ultimately the resolution has to be through engagement only.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm coming to you, General Himalaya Singh, but these are visuals, these are live visuals from Imphal on your screen. The students have decided not to go back home tonight. The students have decided to stay put at the iconic Ima market in the heart of Imphal. Because apparently the Governor Lakshman Prasad Acharya had assured the students that their demands will be met within 24 hours. And what are the students demanding? We have heard some student leaders earlier today, and they have been demanding that the unified command charge should be given to the state government, and they are also demanding that the Assam Rifles, which has been accused of not being neutral. Of course, let me be clear here, the Assam Rifles, I have spoken to Assam Rifle officials at the highest level, they have categorically denied playing a non-neutral role. They are saying that they are trying to do their best in the event of this difficult situation. They have denied, but they are faced with an allegation from groups and organizations in the valley that they are not playing a neutral role. Now, Lieutenant General Himalaya Singh, now why is this demand? Yesterday the governor met, the chief minister, several of his ministers and the alliance MLAs, they have met the governor Lakshman Prasad Acharya yesterday and submitted a memorandum. We have reported since morning 8 major points were raised in that memorandum. One of them was the handing over full charge of the unified command to the state. Now, does it mean that there is an ambiguity? Is the state trying to come up with a view that the imposition of the enforcement of Article 355, is it a handicap to the state in dealing with the situation? Does the state want to send out that message?
Wasbir, this is a politically loaded question, I think. But I would like to believe that in the orders which were issued, and what I have come to know is that the Honorable Chief Minister doesn't figure in that unified command. There is a paragraph which says that Honorable Chief Minister can call for a meeting or something. So, but his office is not actually involved as a chairperson or as a member, or there is nothing as far as the chief minister's office is there as in the formulation of that unified command. So that could be the perception that chief minister actually, honorable chief minister, may not have any say in the unified command. That possibly is the reason why such such actions, and as you already said that they have demanded
Yeah.
the unified command to be reverted to honorable chief minister. I do not know the reasons why the chief minister was not made the chairperson or chairman. Everywhere it is a chairman, maybe because of the circumstances at that point in time. So, and the second issue is that people on all the sides are, actually feeling that, no more lives should be lost. So, and therefore people feel that the existing unified headquarter, the chairman or the members may not be, particularly when the chairman is the security advisor. So that is the perception people have. But by changing him or by reverting back to, the chairmanship to honorable chief minister, how will the ground situation change will be seen. Will
Right.
have to be seen. I can't actually, see the future right now.
Right. Now, before going once again to General Kalita, Professor Haukip, since this is converted into a national security, it's no longer a state issue. It's a national security issue because the Union Home Minister is monitoring the situation extremely closely. The central government, as General Kalita has said, central government has been monitoring the situation very closely right from the beginning. It has dispatched 60,000 armed forces personnel, central armed force personnel stationed in Manipur at the moment. And when drones, etc., were sighted, and we have seen clear instances of drones being used, something which has been acknowledged by the Manipur police, anti-drone systems have been rushed by the central government. Now, it is clear that it is a national security issue, and New Delhi is really concerned about that. Now, in view of this, not to allow elements which are not supportive of our country, anti-India elements, don't you think that the two sides should urgently talk? While demands will be there. Both sides can continue with their demands, but at the same time talk to reduce the violence. Don't you think that is necessary now? I am not asking anybody to give up their demand.
Wasbir, as an academic, what I observe about Manipur is that, as a minority community demanding some autonomy from the Indian state, I think the cookies would take this situation as a leverage to magnify their demands. Because if you look into the demands of the insurgent groups also, from territorial councils under the 6th schedule, they have upgraded, raised their demand to union territory with legislature. So I don't think that any cookie Joe people would come to the negotiating table within the state of Manipur, whether it's N.Biren or any others. They would like the center to intervene, to talk with them, and push for their demand. That is the only kind of way I see within this community. So the center must rush to this rescue. Otherwise,
Professor,
I think there would be no de-escalation of violence
Professor,
in the near future.
Are you saying that the center should come forward right now? This is the right time for the center to come up with some proactive steps. Is that what you are saying?
Definitely, they would have taken any action long ago. Like within a week of this violence, they should have, taken constitutional measures such as imposing Article 356, and then take control of the state situation. That was the only constitutional measures that was left. And if, as we have suggested for the last 15 months, if that was not possible, then at least they could remove the chief minister if BJP is the, as we understand, the party that rules the state right now, and they don't want to impose president's rule there. Then change the chief minister, right? There was the second option, and which was not done till this time. And now, if the center does not take any measures, then who knows? Because of desperation, anti-India elements may raise up. I mean, the youths are very radicalized. They have, this kind
Right.
of discomfort,
Right.
anxiety, which would,
Right.
grow up into anti-India sentiments soon.
Right, right. Let me turn to General Kalita once again. General, there are intelligence reports that groups have sophisticated drones. We have seen one of the sophisticated drones drop a payload. That payload was a rocket-propelled grenade that killed a woman. And again, on one side, we saw a long-range improvised, some kind of a missile projectile was fired that also led to the death of an elderly person. Now, there are also reports now that, some people, some of the armed miscreants are in possession, have recently come possession of night vision binoculars and night vision equipments. Already they are in possession of weapons. Now, the weapons loot, there was an estimate within 2-3 months in the early stages of the violence. As you know, you were very much in office then. There were arms loot in Imphal and its vicinity. About 5,000 weapons were looted, and there were about 5 lakh ammunition were looted. There was some similar lootings in the hills also. And again, 2 days back, there was a fresh attempt to loot, which luckily was thwarted by the police and the security forces. Now, my question to you, what is your assessment? Do you think that foreign elements are involved in arming certain people who may, by giving them sophisticated weaponry, drones, binoculars, night vision equipments? And if I may ask you pointedly, the Chinese are very active in Myanmar. Do you remotely see a Chinese hand in this?
You see, firstly, if you look back, right from our independence, because of the porosity of the Indo-Myanmar border, we see easy availability of weapons in the border areas. And that has been utilized by all these insurgent groups which have been operating in the northeast. Whether in the early stages of like Naga insurgency, the weapons were provided by the Chinese, that
Right.
we all know. And in recent times, the instability in Myanmar, which is where the ethnic armed groups of Myanmar as well as the Chin army, this KNA-B Burma, which is operating in Myanmar, and so we see a whole conglomerate of weapon people, insurgent groups and armed groups who are operating in the areas close to the Indo-Myanmar border. So these have a way of finding changing hands and coming into our territory because of the porous border. And there are, because of the people of same ethnicity lives on both sides of the Indo-Myanmar border, it is quite possible that some of the people who are living on the other side of the border are also supplying this weaponry, and which has now gone to the stage of sophisticated weapons and ammunitions like the drones which we have mentioned. With the advent of technologies, obviously the sophistication is also likely to improve of the availability of the weapons to these extremist groups or militant groups or the miscreants, whatever you may call. Chinese hand, of course, like General K. Himalaya Singh had mentioned, there would be inimical forces who are envious of India's growth, trying to fish in troubled waters. So there is a possibility which has not been seen so far, but we don't know exactly who is providing the funding and who is providing the weapons. Now, connected with that is we also need to now start looking at Bangladesh, because of the present situation is Bangladesh. This revival of the insurgent camps in Bangladesh is also becoming a reality as we go along, the way the things are, and the type of anti-India feelings that we have seen, which is growing within Bangladesh. So these are the things which I'd like to say, and I would also like to, if you allow, make a small comment on the issue of the unified headquarters, Wasbir.
Yes. Yes, please, go ahead.
You see, my understanding of the unified headquarters is slightly different, because if you look back, the unified headquarters in Manipur started in 97. At that point of time, the strategic group, which was the top group, which was headed by the chief secretary, and it has an operational group which was headed by the army officer. In 2004, it was changed and the combined headquarters was made into 3 layers. Combined headquarters, which was headed by the chief minister, then the strategic and operational group, which was headed by the chief secretary, and operational intelligence group by the DGP. But in May 23, when the notification was reviewed and the chief security advisor was appointed as the chairperson of the combined headquarters, I think this changed from the 2004 to 23 notification, and changed from the CM heading the combined headquarters to security advisor heading the combined headquarters, is one of the reason probably the picture is coming out that the security responsibility is not with the chief minister, or the state is not leading that. But I would like to disagree with that, because unified headquarters is just a coordinating mechanism to ensure synergy of operations amongst all the stakeholders, that is the state, the police, the CAPF and the armed forces and the Assam Rifle, which are operating in such disturbed areas. The normal constitutional responsibility of maintaining law and order continues to remain with the police, the state police under the DGP. And if you look at the notification, the gazette notification which constituted this unified headquarters, it specifically says the security advisor is to the government of Manipur, and security advisor, if he is heading the unified headquarters, he is heading it on behalf of the government of Manipur, and he is answerable to the executive of the Manipur or the legislature of the Manipur, like the chief secretary is, or like the DGP is. That is my understanding.
Right.
So like General K. Himalaya Singh had said, in one of the lines, it states that the chief minister can call for a meeting and he will preside over the meeting. So the chief minister has the control of unified headquarters, if you look at it from that perspective.
Right. I'm coming to you, General Himalaya Singh, but we have a breaking news coming in. Cross-firing has begun at Sugnu and Tangzang areas, and one civilian has reportedly sustained injuries in the cross-firing. The BSF and Manipur police are reportedly engaged in a gun battle with armed men. It is the Manipur police and the BSF are engaged in a crossfire with the armed man, and cross-firing has begun at Sugnu and Tangzang areas, and one civilian is reportedly injured in this cross-firing. This is the breaking news. So firefights have become an order of the day in Manipur. General Himalaya Singh, the Chinese hand, we were talking about the Chinese hand. You expressed caution, you expressed a sense of concern that in this kind of a situation, forces inimical to us can take advantage. Now the point is, why do you think the 60,000 central paramilitary forces or central armed police force personnel were deployed in Manipur that has a population of 32 lakhs, just 3 million, do you think that is not enough to deal with a situation, or do you think it's the terrain which the people holding guns know better than the central forces, who have just, some of them may have just come in and are unfamiliar with the area, unfamiliar with the terrain? Is it that why 60,000 people are not able to contain the situation?
Okay. In fact, you have echoed the sentiments of the people of the state. They also asked the similar question, that 60,000 troops or 60,000 people alongside the Manipur police, why aren't they able to contain the violence? The answer is very simple. The see most of the most of the situation of this kind where ethnic conflict mixed with various layers of conflict situation requires a very deft handling. And given the highly charged, highly emotive, highly sensitive nature of operation, I think that is also, and human rights issues, besides the sensitivities of uh, you know human rights issues and other issues, the Manipur police has also been almost vertically split into on communal lines. So, having said that, I think the forces did a remarkably good job in the beginning when they evacuated affected people with
Yeah.
speed, with so much of with hardly any state assistance, and they are operating under very difficult situations. But the impression and the perception amongst the people is that why is that? One thing is that if particularly I can talk about the Assam Rifles and military and army is that they are used to kinetic actions. Particularly the army. In any case, the element army component is not much here. So the kinetic actions need certain kind of a directive, a political directive. I am not very sure
Right.
whether, but system, the governance, they are prepared to accept the risk of, uh, collateral damage, collateral casualties.
Right.
So that is a big concern. I do believe that it's a big concern, and but the fact remains that these thousands and thousands of weapons in all over spread all over the place. In fact, I feel that it is over 15,000 weapons floating all over the state now.
Absolutely.
So as long as people with emotions and radical elements, they are armed with weapons, unless they are disarmed, their intentions cannot be predicted because they tend to set the agenda thereafter.
Absolutely.
You know, then
Absolutely.
the sense of logic disappears, and uh,
Right.
various types of stories and various types of perception, various types of this thing will happen. So I feel that weapons, which are floating around all over, is one of the main reasons
Main
why
reasons.
violence tend to erupt, off and on.
Absolutely, absolutely. I am coming to you, Professor Hauke, but we have a big breaking story at this point from Meghalaya. Meghalaya Deputy Chief Minister, Mr. Preston Tinson, has suffered some kind of a cardiac issue. He has been admitted at the ICU of the Nazareth Hospital in Shillong. That's what we are getting. These are preliminary reports we are getting. The Meghalaya Deputy Chief Minister, Mr. Preston Tinsong, has suffered a cardiac issue, and he has been admitted at the ICU of the Nazareth Hospital in Shillong. He has been rushed. We will update you about his condition in a short while from now, as soon as we get information. This is the breaking story from Meghalaya. Coming to you, Professor Hauke. Professor Hauke, how important is it now for the community leaders themselves to realize the gravity of the situation? You are an academic. Today also, there are no schools and colleges have been shut in the Imphal Valley and other parts of Manipur. Now the point is, students in both the hills and the valley, their academic future, their future has become totally uncertain. And there is a flight of capital from Manipur. There are people from Manipur, both communities, who are buying real estate, buying flats and apartments in Guwahati, Calcutta and Delhi. So, who is ultimately, what will suffer is the Manipur as a whole is going to suffer. Don't you think the community leaders, as I said, that okay, understand people are become too emotional, there is a trust deficit between two communities, understood. I am not asking anybody to come down on their demands. Don't you think there is need for a talk? We know that nobody can talk in Churachandpur or Imphal. Why not talk in a neutral place? Do you think somebody should take the lead?
Wasbir, in the current situation, if somebody talk about any dialogue between the two communities, they would be taken as a traitor, right? So it's very dangerous even to talk about peace. It's very even dangerous to talk about dialogue between the two communities. So what we have pointed out several times that what is remaining is the union government. Just to politically go back to the Union of India, the Indian government has been accommodating enough for the last more than 75 years.
Where?
They have accommodated several demands in the province of Assam. For instance, autonomy demands of the communities like the Nagas, the Khasis, Mizos, they have been accommodated. And in Manipur, the demands politically has been settled in the form of statehood, from a union territory, a princely state, to eventually to a full-fledged statehood in 1972. There is the history of accommodation of the Indian government. But however, when we look into within the state of Manipur since 1972, there has been too much inequality in terms of how some political aspiration has been handled. For instance, since 1978, the hill communities were demanding about the extension of the sixth schedule to the autonomous councils in Manipur. But this has been in a limbo. There are several reasons why this has been denied for the last 45 years.
Right.
But look into the single demand of internal autonomy within Manipur. It has not been handled properly by the state of Manipur. But on the other hand, if you look into the majority community, the dominant community, after statehood, they have got the so-called eighth schedule demand. Manipuri has been included in the eighth schedule of the Indian Constitution. You can use Manipuri in Indian Parliament. You can use Manipuri in writing several competitive examinations. So the Manipuris got several advantages in terms of educational, competitive, and other exams.
Right.
And coming back again to a few years ago, the demand of inner line permit system has been fulfilled by the union government to accommodate the aspirations of the valley people.
Absolutely.
But looking to the 45 years, the tribals in Manipur have been demanding extension of sixth schedule, which is not threatening the territorial integrity of the state of Manipur.
Right, Professor.
It has been not accommodated very well.
Right.
So look into the disparity that
you are talking. You are talking
development in terms of political accommodation also.
Right. You are talking about basically disparity between the valley and the hills. You are saying that the valley is getting much more than the hills, and I'm sure if I talk to somebody from the valley, they will have a different point of view. These are live visuals on your screen. There is a torchlight procession at Thangmei Bund in Imphal. There is a torchlight procession. These torchlight processions have become the order of the day. People are coming out on the streets to protest, and they protest the escalating violence in the state. They want more action from the government, whether it is the central government, whether it is the state government. This is the protest at Thangmei Bund. Let's have the ambience if we have. Okay, this is a live. These are live visuals, torchlight procession where the protesters saying "Long live Manipur." Since I'm running short of time, and since I have two illustrious army generals on the show tonight, first to you, General Kalita, what is your prescription? How do you move from now on? Violence has escalated. It is already into the 16th month. More than 200 people have died, 60,000 displaced, and still nobody is willing to talk. What do we do to move ahead? How to bring the curtains down to this very, very unfortunate violence?
See, there are very two things I would say broadly which is request to be done. The first thing is control violence at all costs. That's the first step that has to be taken. And towards that, I think the first action that should be done very, very resolutely is to seal the Indo-Myanmar border, ensure that nothing comes in. There are no move across the Indo-Myanmar border, to remove that element of doubt about all the support and the influx of weapons that are taking place. And then thereafter takes resolute measures against all the miscreants, all the free movement of the armed groups all across Manipur has to come to a stop. So the security forces need to take adequate steps to ensure that the arms weapons which were looted or weapons which have come from across needs to be recovered. The weapons from the society needs to be taken out, and all the miscreants free movement must be stopped. And we need to carry out detailed search operations to recover all the weapons and other warlike stores. And the second major point after the controlling of the violence is confidence building.
Right.
We have to build up the confidence. We have to remove that mistrust which is there among both the communities. And towards that, just 2-3 things I would like to highlight. One is there are a lot of inquiries which were ordered, including CBI investigation into various allegations of violence which were perpetrated in the initial stage of the conflict. The environment is not aware what has happened to those inquiries and all.
Yeah.
They must see the light of the day, and the people must be seeing that some resolute action has been taken by the government on various complaints and the other things. Then you also need to carry out engagement of all the communities to address their grievances,
Right.
the genuine grievances which both the communities have.
Absolutely.
Then we need to have peace committees formed to start this dialogue, and this peace committee must comprise of members which are acceptable to both the communities. And I would recommend neutral people who have detailed knowledge of Manipur and the various complexities involved with Manipur. They must be made member of these peace committees.
Right. Absolutely.
And that is my prescription for the future.
Absolutely. Same question I would like to ask General Himalaya Singh before I conclude. General Himalaya Singh, very, I don't have much time. In 20 to 30 seconds, what are your prescription?
Okay, in 20 to 30 seconds, I can say that there will be short and long-term measures, what you are talking about, in order to address to solve the problem. And it's since the conflict itself is a multi-dimensional, it will also require multi-dimensional kind of action to address the issue. But in the short term, I would say that the dialogue which we have been talking about, the talks and dialogue, since both the communities are not ready to talk in the open as of today, I think the central government will have to exercise their powers to make sure that they talk. I mean, they have the resources, they have the the Indian state, the might of the Indian state, as
Absolutely.
also the concern.
Absolutely.
The second issue is the concern of the people. Concern of the people, of both sides. you have the dimensions like the drug and arms and border management issues and all. There are many layers, many dimensions involved.
Absolutely.
So those will have to be. But the most important will be the political
Will.
initiative that is being awaited.
Absolutely. Political will has to be demonstrated. It's high time political will is demonstrated. At the end of the day, as General Kalita said, first control violence and then other things will follow. And secondly, as General Himalaya Singh said, the state has to see that talks take place. If the Indian state can talk to extremist groups, talk to outlawed rebel groups and have brought them on the line of peace negotiations, several peace negotiations have already been concluded. Now it is only a matter of time when the government of India should act along with the government of Manipur in seeing that the two communities talk to each other. It is easier said than done in the present volatile situation in Manipur, but nothing can go, if efforts are made, nothing can stop the government of India from initiating talks. On that note, I end this edition of Northeast Tonight. Thanks to all the panelists for participating in the show, viewers for watching the program. Good night and goodbye.